You see, I understood now that although these other matters are important, if Jesus rose from the dead, it's game, set, match. Christianity's true, period.
Talk awkwardly amongst yourselves.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, my wife Debbie and I have been married for 32 years. She's my best friend. My next best friend is Gary Habermas. He's sitting here on the front row tonight, and he mentored me for years. In fact, I don't know that I'd be a Christian today if not for Gary. Well, Gary will tell you about what he calls the Baltimore call. It was 1989. Debbie and I were living in Baltimore at the time, and I was experiencing a crisis of faith. There was no email then, so I called Gary. And the call went something like this. Doc, you know that many scholars don't think that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote the Gospels. In fact, they say we don't know who wrote them, and if they didn't write them, then, gosh, we can't even know if they're historically reliable, and this is really shaking my faith at its core.
This isn't going to work.
And Gary said, he's pretty patient. He said, Mike, did Jesus rise from the dead?
What he's saying.
I said, yeah. He said, if Jesus rose from the dead, is Christianity true? Absolutely. He said, Mike, there's reasons for believing that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote the Gospels, but let's just say for the sake of argument they did not. Would that change the fact that Jesus rose from the dead? I said, well, no, because you have what you call the minimal facts approach. You take facts that are so strongly supported by the data that even skeptical scholars grant them all. And so you can take just those facts alone and build a very strong and powerful case for the resurrection. So I believe Jesus rose because the evidence is there. And yeah, I suppose if Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John didn't write the Gospels, that doesn't impact your minimal facts argument. So yeah, Jesus still rose from the dead. Then Mike, why are you allowing the matter of gospel authorship to shake your faith at its core? I never thought about that, Doc. That's pretty good. But what do you do with all the alleged errors and contradictions in the Gospels? Mike, did Jesus rise from the dead? Yes. Mike, there's so many different ways to approach gospel differences, and most of them are easily resolved. But let's just say for the sake of argument there are some errors in the Gospels. Would that change the fact that Jesus rose from the dead? I said, no. Then why are you letting the matter of gospel differences shake your faith at its core? All right, Doc, I think I see where you're going with this now. But what do you do with the genocide text in the Old Testament? I mean, Mike, did Jesus rise from the dead? That was a life-changing phone call for me. You see, I understood now that although these other matters are important, if Jesus rose from the dead, it's game, set, match. Christianity's true, period. And now I felt a freedom to investigate these other matters with an open mind, because no matter how the answers turned out, Christianity's still true.